Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be discussing the Burg by Dwal. This has been my main paddle for the last 2 months, over 2 months now. I even played in a 4-5 tournament 2 months ago with this paddle. Ended up taking gold after only using it for 10 days. So I'm going to show you guys about 20 minutes of footage taken a few weeks ago with this paddle. I've included almost every single point from that session during which I hit the ball at least once or twice. That way you see the points that I lose, the points that I win with it, so you guys can judge it based on that. You could skip forward if you want to. I'm also going to timestamp where I'll have this conversation with you guys and give you my actual review and throw up some clips from that game. So with that, I'll let you guys watch it. Okay, so let me preface everything by saying this. I've got about four to 6 hours a week to play of pickleball. So trust me when I say this. Because I have so limited time, I would only choose to use a paddle that I feel is best suited for me during my playtime. I don't have the luxury to kind of, have 6, 7 paddles in the bag and for me to be like, let me see how this paddle is for this session. I want to go out there, I want to work on a few things. I have a few things in mind that I want to improve on. I want to use a paddle that I'm comfortable with. I want to use a paddle that's that will complement my game. And this has been that paddle. And this is coming from somebody that's been using the Joola Mods, the Gearbox Pro Power and the Pro Ultimate, so all these power paddles. Obviously, that's what my game's kind of suited to. That's what I like to use. And I've picked up the Dwell here now, and I have not put it down, okay? I have not put this paddle down. And it's everything that I would want out of a power paddle, in my opinion. So let's talk about that power aspect of this paddle, okay? Now, during the time that I got the Dwell, I also had a TKO in my bag. It was a brand new TKO, just as this was a brand new Dwell. That was like a 14 millimeter TKO. From what I can tell from my first 1 or 2 sessions between that paddle and this paddle, very similar power profile, okay? They both hit the same. Now, here's a key difference though. The Paddleteks, they don't really break in, right? People even say that they're the most poppiest out of the box. But that's not the case of the Dwell here, which is supposed to have like a Gen 3 construction going on. Don't ask me for any more details. I mean, their own website has very little information on it as to what is it made out of. Nobody's got a clue. All I know is that it's Gen 3. And so going back to my point, after this paddle breaks in 6-8 hours down the line, it's stronger than your Paddleteks, in my opinion. It's stronger than the TKO. That's how this paddle had felt for me. But if we go back to the name here, right, Dwell, it really sticks true to that because the amount of spin that I was getting with this paddle out of the box easily trumps any other paddle that I've used. Now, here's the thing. Almost every paddle, there's 2 types of spins that go on, right? First is kind of the construction of the face and the paddle that generates spin. Second is kind of like the spray-on grit that a lot of companies do still use, which rubs off after a few sessions. It rubbed off here too, okay? The first 2 sessions, crazy amount of spin. It rubs off, and guess what? Still a very, very spinny paddle. I've got about 45 hours of the Dwell now. I'm still getting so much spin with this paddle, and I'm gonna tell you this much, I get probably the most amount of power with this paddle right now than I did with any other paddle in my past, and you guys know the paddles I've been using, and that's simply because I still have so much spin here that I'm able to apply so much more power on my serve and on my drives and still keep that ball in. There are 3 things about this paddle that I absolutely love, okay? The first 2 things are kind of similar, which is the serve and the drive. I've been serving big, I've been driving big with this paddle. Both of them feel great because it's so consistent. A lot of paddles out there I've noticed, especially the power paddles, because of the whole trampoline effect, which maybe this one kind of has a slight trampoline effect. What ends up happening is that you sometimes drive a serve and the ball is just like way out. The Gearbox has had that issue, Sometimes like 1 out of every like 6 big serves of the Gearbox, it would almost hit the fence. I would have 0 clue as to why that's happening. With the Dwell, on the other hand, the power seems more linear. You don't have this massive difference between when you're hitting the ball, semi-soft and really hard. You don't have this massive shift in power. And because of that, it makes its performance much more consistent. Because I'm on baby duty right now, so the little kid's not too happy here. So you're gonna have to bear with me here in some moments. But also, what I want to say before we get into this, let me just speak about the construction of this paddle, at least how I have it set up. Not the construction, but how I have it set up. I've got 3 grams here in this corner, 3 grams up here, and obviously symmetrically on the other side. This looks like it's longer than 3 grams. That's because this is 6 grams, and I cut it the long way just to make it more spread out. And I also have a slice cap of 15 grams. I think this is probably the best setup you could put on your paddle. It feels really, really good. I tinkered maybe like 6-7 times with the LED setup on this paddle to get it to this point where it actually felt very, very solid for me. I recommend you guys do the same, especially try putting some weight at the very top of this paddle. It's worth it. I think out of the box, it comes in very quick in the hands, even though the static weight was like 8.1. It still felt very, very quick in the hands. And just because I haven't mentioned this, This is a 14 millimeter version of the paddle, okay? And if you do pick it up, by the way, if you use my name, Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N, at the checkout, instead of paying $200, you pay $150. One last final important point, I get zero kickback if you do so. I'm getting zero kickback for making this video. They're not gonna be reviewing this video. I make zero compensation from the company. I make zero compensation if you use my coupon code. I can't even tell if you would use my coupon code because I don't have access to any sort of backhand that would kind of show me this, okay? So that's strictly for you guys. And this review is, again, just 100% genuine. Okay, so like I said, serves, drives really, really nicely. A lot of power, a lot of spin that keeps the ball in. Third thing that I love about it, the resets. I've never reset as much as I have with this paddle simply because of how accurate I can be. It's, you know, and the type of reset matters. If you're someone that resets and you tend to kind of use a lot of your arm to cushion the ball, this may not be for you because the way I normally reset, I kind of just choose a right face angle and I soften my wrist to the right level. And I usually absorb with my body, meaning that I will kind of, you know, if I need to, just depending on how I bend my legs into that defensive shot, that kind of dictates how much force I'm putting back at that ball, right? So imagine if I'm trying to, you know, reset a ball that's kind of coming at my feet. I might put that paddle and I might just kind of like lift with my knees up or down or forward to kind of give that forward momentum on the ball if I need to do so, right? But I use my wrist very little on my resets, and it works so well with this paddle that I'm resetting more than I ever have before, and or at least at very least I'm so much more effective with my resets because of that, and I'm really surprised by how great it does that. Now counters are also strong with this paddle. Are you gonna be countering the ball as well as you can with the mod? You're not going to be there, okay? So the mod is obviously very good at the counters. Some of the gearboxes are also very strong with the counters. You're not gonna get that level of countering with the mod, with the dual, I mean, right? Still very good. There's, you know, if you haven't watched my video of me in the tournament with this paddle, I mean, I had to play against a bunch of players that were using the mod, and I had no issues out countering them. In my sessions, I also have no issues out countering people that are using the ESQ, are using the new Huarache Power, are using mods. I've got no issue out countering them. Obviously, it's also not just the paddle, it's just the player themselves at times, you know. But the point being, I never feel like I'm on my back foot. You know, would I have better counters if I was using the mod? Sure, you know, but still very aggressive on the counters. The dinks feel good, you know. I think that's kind of where things are a bit more lackluster. I'm not gonna be like, wow, like it's so great in the dinks, it's so great in the drops. It's good, you know. I'm not feeling that my game is bad on both of those. I feel like it does both of them perfectly fine. It doesn't feel phenomenal, you know. You know what, I'm gonna go as far as saying that, you know, dropping and dinking is probably, yeah, this is the Huarache Power I have on me. We'll speak a bit more about this paddle in comparison soon. Yeah, probably dropping and dinking, you know, this paddle right here feels a little easier, you know. Yeah, this could be also because at this point, I would say as time went by, you know, with this paddle, maybe it becomes a little bit more difficult. But that's probably, you know, where I don't want to say it could be improved. That's probably just where it's not that great at. But it's great in serves, great in drives, great in resets. What else? Yeah, countering. You know, that's where it shines, right? The aggressive part of the game, right? So if you are someone that relies on having, you know, you drop absolutely everything and you're always dinking and never speeding things up, maybe it's not the paddle for you, right? But if you have a bit more of an aggressive style to your game, you know, I'm usually looking to speed up the ball after maybe just a few dinks. This really does it well for me. Let's talk about the durability of this paddle here. So after it breaks in after like 6-8 hours, it plays the same up to the 25-hour mark, at least for me. What ended up happening after 25 hours, the edge guard here kind of, I mean, if I put this up to the mic here, you can maybe kind of hear it, right? Maybe, you see that? You hear that? Kind of, it starts kind of coming off here, right? And once this happens, I'll say a few hours later of playing, like you start noticing a little bit of an increase in power. This is at the 25-hour mark. It started to happen, right? Okay. The middle of the face, if I put this up to the mic, you barely hear anything. Okay, this is a 45-hour used paddle. you know, I hit the ball pretty hard at times. And even then, after 45 hours, really nothing in the middle of the face. It's just this edge guard is kind of coming off, but it could obviously be improving power. We've seen that sometimes with some paddles where the edge guard kind of comes loose and it's, you know, giving you more power, which it has happened here. But after 45 hours, I mean, this paddle with that boost of power is still very, very controllable, and it still has so much spin. I mean, I'm just amazed by it. I mean, you know, keep this between you and I, guys, but this is a brand new Huarache, okay? It's got like an hour of play on it. I'm getting more spin with the Dual than I am with this Huarache X, okay? And it's very similar weighted up. Look at this. I even have more aggressive, I believe, weights on the Huarache X here. This is like 4 grams down here, 3 grams over there. You may not see the slice coin here, but I have 15 grams of lead around the grip. So a lot of weight on this bad boy here too, but I get more spin on a used Dual. Think about that, a 45-hour used Dual. I get more spin here than I do on this Huarache. And now, is this paddle meant to be a very spinny paddle, the Huarache Power? No, it's not meant to be that, but even if I would imagine there's gotta be some spray on grit here, I still get more spin of it, you know, and I'm not going to speak about the power because, well, let me speak about the power. Yeah, I'm getting more power here, but granted, the Huarache X is not broken into. People did say that, hey, 6-8 hours on the Huarache X softens up the face, it hits harder. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. I'm going to say this much, though. One of the guys that I play with uses that exact paddle. It's got like 15-20 hours on it. I see how he hits the ball, how he counters with it. It doesn't seem like it's coming off the face that hot. You know, in general, I still feel like the Dual is the stronger paddle of the two if you're looking for power and for spin. A couple of quirks about the paddle. The angle by which the ball leaves the face is very extreme at times, I've noticed. And I end up very often with this paddle, if I'm kind of not really focused in and I'm trying to put the ball away and I have very thin margins, I end up hitting the top of the tape. And it normally doesn't happen with other paddles. It happens more often with the Dual here. And it's just the angle. The angle is a bit lower than I'm normally used to, which actually does help with like the resets. Because the ball is not really popping up. It's staying low. I'll say this much too. Sometimes if I have time just to put a paddle out and I'm being attacked, very rarely does the ball just pop up. The ball kind of always stays very linear for some reason or another. But that sometimes works against you because I don't account for that all the time. And I end up kind of being a little too aggressive with the angle and end up hitting the top of the tape. So that's one thing that kind of stuck out of this paddle. Just kind of how the ball leaves at times. Another thing, you know, which was kind of strange to me. So normally speaking on these elongated paddles, the sweet spot was kind of supposed to be over here, right? I'm just trying to make sure I show you guys, right? This is where you expect the sweet spot to be. Oh yeah, second of all, sweet spot, it's pretty much the whole face, you know. You know, which is great because again, if you're being defensive, you know, so the fact that it has great resets is phenomenal, and it makes it even better on defense because so often I'm feeling the ball hitting off these corners here, and I'm still getting decent action back on the ball. So very, very good in terms of sweet spot on this paddle here. But going back to my point here, this is supposed to be the main sweet spot, right? Where you get the most amount of power, but that's not the case. For some reasons, it's like over here. It's like the middle of the paddle is where sometimes if I hit the ball right there, I get this massive jolt of power that I am not getting up here. So that's something you kind of have to adjust to because I've noticed that sometimes, you know, if I was hitting the ball right square in the middle here, I would overhit the ball because I wouldn't expect it to come off that paddle that hot. It comes off strong up here, you know, and it comes off dummy strong off this middle section here, which I don't interact with as often. But funnily enough, on counters, you're more likely to interact with this area right here, right? Because you don't have the luxury to be like, well, I'm going to aim there, you know. You just kind of put the paddle out where the mass is, and that's it. And that's where you're most interacting, you know. But on the put-away shots, you know, I have a split second to decide how I want to hit it, and I'm normally aiming up here. That's normally the case. But sometimes if I'm off, obviously, we'll always talk about milliseconds here. If I'm off a little bit, you know, oh, I got to take this away. Oh, my goodness. Look at this. The little guy has a tiny screwdriver. Liam, buddy. So yeah, so keep that in mind. I'm not sure why that's the case, why the sweet spot's so strong down here. It's not bothering me that much. Again, you have that advantage where in counters, it shines through and you have this phenomenal counter. But if you interact with it, you know, in times when you least expect it and you have time, that it might be a little bit of an issue. Now, this edge guard problem, right? The new ones that are being sold on their website right now should have this fixed, okay? This should not be an issue moving forward. I plan on warranting this paddle, and once I do so, you know, I can see how it plays with the edge guard fix. I think all they're doing for the fix is kind of making sure that it doesn't come off the way it should be, and that might be enough to fix it because, again, the middle of the face is not much sound. I mean, you guys can't hear it over the baby babbling down there, you know. And but it's not really, you know, the middle of the face is not really crushed. It's just these corners that are just giving off all the sound because of the edge guard. And here's the thing, guys. I've got zero reason to use any of the paddle. Okay, this paddle has just been great for me. I know a lot of us love to jump from paddle to paddle, but here's the truth. I mean, the more you do that, you're holding yourself back. You know, it's hard to improve if you're constantly changing the paddle that you're playing with. You're constantly changing where the lead setup is. You got to kind of stick to the same thing. So I played D1 tennis. You know, I played tennis at a very high level. I've even played against Jack Sock in tennis. You know, in our juniors tournaments 3 times. I did lose all 3 times, but here's the thing, though. I played with the same head radical racket for like 13 years, okay? I maybe switched string brands like 3 or 4 times throughout my whole tennis career. But that's how most tennis players are, right? You stick to the same equipment and you become very proficient in that equipment. Same thing in this sport, fellas. Like switching, you know, paddles every month or 2, like that's going to be holding you back no matter what. Now, I'm not saying to go out there and buy the Dual and stick to this paddle. You don't have to do that. But if I would say this much, almost any of the paddles on the market right now that are these premium paddles, they're all great paddles. Just pick one of them up and stick to them at the end of the day, right? That's kind of my aside point here. But the reason I bring it up, though, is because this is going to be my main paddle, right? My channel is not a paddle review channel. I mean, I've been searching for a paddle that's going to work for me and not break down after 20 hours, as the Joola Mods have. So I plan to warranty this paddle, get the edge guard fix in, and continue playing with this because I want to build up on my game. I don't want to be so obsessed of like, what paddle should I be using? You know, yes, I have the C45 Power on me, you know, which I'm probably going to resell to someone else. I have a C45 Franklin, right? That's also a very popular paddle, you know? And guess what? I've played both of those paddles. I still choose the Dual over those 2, you know? Now, what I'm going to say, though, topic of pop. Let's talk about pop for a split second here. What I noticed from playing with an ESQ and with the C45, a lot of pop in those 2 paddles, but it's a very particular pop where it's, if you just put your paddle out there, the ball comes off very nicely, very quickly, right? Quicker than it does with the Dual. But if you have time to snap back at that ball, right, kind of flick back when you're countering, the Dual takes over in power. That's my experience with it, right? My doubles partner plays with the ESQ, so I had a chance to kind of swap, and we did a couple volley drills, and I saw that, yes, if I'm late to that ball and all I have is time just to put that paddle out, ESQ does a better job in pushing that ball back towards him. But if I'm kind of one step ahead and I'm able to kind of get back on that counter, I'm easily overpowering, you know, versus ESQ version of myself, you know. But there you have it. Hopefully you enjoyed my review. Once I get this warranted and I get the version of the Burg with the edgeguard fix, you know, I'll be playing with that. I'll let you guys know how that goes, if the paddle plays any differently. I plan to set up that paddle, by the way, the replacement, exactly as I set up this paddle here, right? If you decide to grab your own, just make sure, again, use my name, just to save $50 off. I mean, $150 paddle, honestly, is pretty nutty. I know the C45 Power X, they've done a phenomenal job at also having a very low rate, you know. And again, I've used the paddle, I used it today as well. You know, it's a good paddle. It's a good paddle, but unfortunately, it kind of comes off as a downgrade to the Dual. Again, you know, don't send it to the team of 11624 though, but that's just my opinion on it. And maybe it's because I'm just used to the standard shape elongated. Maybe that's just kind of what I'm really glued to, and that's what I enjoy. That could very much be the case. But if you have any questions for me regarding the Dual, leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, you can like it. You can also subscribe for more future videos. I plan to have a couple 5-0 tournaments coming up in the next couple months, and this is going to be my paddle of choice. And it should be fun. So I will also narrate those videos once they are out, and that's all I want to say. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys out there.